Hey everybody, Sam Davidson here with MEA Worldwide, and we have a very special show for you today. Special guest Amanda Stanton. How are you doing?
Hey, I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. Well, I'm super excited to meet you because I've been following you since Ben Higgins' season. Have seen your journey and you grow so much. And then, of course, I read your book, Now Accepting Roses. That's what we're mainly going to be talking about today, but it has a lot of Bachelor gossip, juiciness within the book. First of all, what inspired you to want to write the book? Was there a certain event in your life where you kind of were just like, it's time that I tell the world my story?
Yeah, so actually it was right after I got off Ben Higgins' season, and I just had so many, mainly single moms reaching out to me, telling me that they could relate to me or that I inspired them or I helped them feel better about their situation, because being a single mom is so hard. And I think that's kind of when I was like, okay, I want to write a book to hopefully help other single moms out there. But then over the years, because it took a very long time to write it, it kind of turned more into about my whole life, other than just being a single mom, about my dating experiences and about being on the show. So I think there's a little bit of something for everybody in there. But that's kind of what inspired me.
What were your biggest fears and anxiety, especially after writing the book, you know, getting the first draft? Were you nervous about who was going to read it and what their reactions were going to be?
It's funny because when I was writing it, I don't really think it crossed my mind that, like, this is going to be out there for everyone to read. It almost felt like I was journaling in a way, and it was kind of therapeutic. But then after the book was done and we made all the changes, I was super nervous, mainly about my exes and the people that I wrote about reading it and what they were going to have to say about it. But at the end of the day, you know, I told my story and I spoke my truth, and I haven't heard anything from them. So I think I was pretty nice.
I would have been personally most worried about Josh Murray's mom.
Yeah.
Reading the book.
I was worried about that. Yeah. I mean, but like I said, I think I was pretty nice. I really tried to make sure that everything that I put in there, if there was juicy details or stories, that there was a purpose behind why I was saying that, not really just to like put it all out there and bash somebody. So yeah.
Well, I think one of the things that in the book you were really nice about, and that I think just kind of shows your grace, is your relationship with your ex-husband, which was very tumultuous. And after reading your experience, most people are like, God, what a jerk. But, you know, he's also the father of your two girls, and you really just still have a lot of respect for him. How do you do something like that after someone puts you through such a hard time?
I mean, obviously, I always will put my kids first, and you know, that's their dad, and at the end of the day, I always want them to have a good relationship with him. So I think it's something that we're always working on, trying to co-parent, and regardless of the past, I mean, it's something that, you know, he'll always be in my life, and we'll always have to try to make it work. So might as well try to make it as easy as possible, you know?
And so your book, you know, there's a lot of people in Bachelor Nation that have books now, and of course, Andy Dorfman has her 2 books. Did you get to kind of compare notes with her at all? Because her first book, you know, there's definitely some things that she went through that you talk about as well. Did she kind of coach you through this process at all?
Yeah, so when I first met Andy, actually, I had already started writing my book. But it was nice to, you know, have somebody who's been through the process and knows what it's like, and I definitely picked her brain a little bit about it, and we exchanged notes, so that was really helpful. She was super supportive, too, which was nice.
And do you know if any of your exes have read it?
I don't know for a fact, but I mean, like, if someone wrote a book about me, I would read it, but I probably wouldn't tell anybody that I read it.
Yeah,
you know?
exactly.
So I would assume.
And so which part of the book would you say was the most difficult to write and kind of re-go through?
I would say, honestly, probably the stuff that happened before the show, regarding, you know, me having kids so young and their dad, and kind of what happened with that was probably the hardest to write about, just because, I mean, it happened so long ago, and I think I kind of blocked a lot of things out, and when I was writing about it, I had to kind of open that back up, so.
And so now, you know, from what we know, you are a single lady.
Yes.
Would you ever date within Bachelor Nation, or, you know, even anyone that's been on reality TV again?
So when I first got off the show, and after my last time on the show, I was like, I don't want to date anybody from reality TV. And now I'm kind of in a place where I'm like, I wouldn't not date somebody. There's nobody that I have in mind by any means.
Yeah.
Maybe. I don't know.
And so I know, especially from working with ABC too, like ironclad contracts, and they're very intense on, you know, what they let you guys do. Yeah. So did you have to get prior approval from ABC at all about writing about any of this stuff?
Yeah, so we sent in my book just for them to look over and make sure everything was good. But then we also have a team with lawyers and all of that to make sure that nothing was breaching the contract. So.
Well, so after, your book ends, so many other things happened in your life that were kind of crazy and unique to you. So did you have any desire to be like, wait, I want to kind of go back and add this part, or should I be writing a second book because so much other stuff has happened?
I think that's what's so funny about like the process of writing the book. It was like so hard to finish because I'm like, my thoughts were changing and how I was feeling about certain things that I'd already wrote about were changing. So it was hard to kind of like end it and just be like, okay, this is the end, because obviously it's about my life and my life's always changing and new stuff's happening. I don't have any plans to write a second book, but yeah, obviously a lot's happened since then. So
yeah, and I do just have to say personally, like I said, I've always been a fan of yours, but you went through something that not a lot of people have gone through that was terrible. I mean, you were blackmailed by some crazy person on the internet, and I just feel as though you handled that situation with such strength and grace.
Thanks.
I mean, how did that all happen, and how did you deal with it? And did anyone give you advice on like how to handle the situation best?
So I think that was the hardest thing about it, was that I don't know anybody who'd gone through that before. And at first, I thought it was a joke because I woke up to these emails and I was like, there's no way this is real. I thought I was dreaming. And, they had attached the photos and then they started sending them to people that I knew, and I was getting people calling me every day. And so I didn't necessarily want to go public with it just because I felt bad for my doctor who was the one that was hacked in the first place. But it got to the point where I was like, I feel like I need to just address it. And I'm glad that I did, but it was hard because, like I said, I didn't have anybody who'd been through that. They could help me through it. But, I was talking to my parents. I was like, this is so embarrassing, but not that there's anything wrong with this scenario too, but if you have nude photos out there that you sent to a boyfriend, like it wasn't like that. They were doctor's office photos for medical purposes. So I just got to a point where I was like, you know what, if you're gonna do it, I need to just get over it. And luckily they never ended up on the internet, but a lot of my friends and family and people that I know saw them.
That's just so crazy. And I mean, how much do your girls know of like what's going on in your life during these times?
So my kids actually didn't really know about the hacker situation.
That's good.
Yeah, it's not something that I feel like I could really explain to them because they're so young. But they do know a lot about, like my breakups and stuff like that, which I think I've been better about. It was mainly like my Josh breakup that I feel like was the hardest. But they know stuff like that because it's part of their life too. But certain things I tell them about.
Well, they are so cute and so wise. Do both of them have an Instagram or just one?
They do. I run their Instagrams,
of course.
But they both are. They're both on there.
Yeah, I follow them on Instagram. They're adorable. I'm sure you give them the most amazing advice all the time. But like, what have they taught you? And did they ever say something you're like, wow, that is so wise? Who are you?
Oh, all the time. It's so funny because when they're so young, it's like they have this confidence about them. Like they haven't experienced things that like we experience as adults that make us maybe like insecure or give us trust issues or any of these things. So they're just so confident, and they're always like, well, why would you do that? And I think they just kind of put things into perspective for me a lot, and they remind me every day what's important. So, it's nice.
And so lastly, we have, of course, our new season of The Bachelor coming up. I mean, are you still a fan of the show and enjoy watching?
I do. So I love the show, but it's just funny because even before I went on, I never really watched it. I actually don't really watch TV in general. So I never really know what's going on. But I want to, every season, I'm like, I want to watch the season. But it's hard when I have kids and they're in dance and you have so much going on. But I'm hoping to watch a season.
What are your thoughts on pilot Pete? I feel like you guys could have like clicked in a different scenario. I like him. Yeah.
I don't know much about him because I didn't get to see Hannah's season. But he seems like a nice guy.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's
I think
a pilot,
it'll be
which
a
is
fun
cool.
season.
I think so.
What are your thoughts on though the cast continuously like being younger? It just feels like it's getting younger instead of older, which is kind of doesn't make sense because everyone is getting older that watches the show.
Yeah. That's one thing I've noticed too is like, I was 25 when I was on the show, but now it seems like even 25 is like on the older end. I'm 29 now, it feels like forever ago. But yeah, it seems like they're casting younger people, and I think maybe it has to do with social media because I feel like social media is kind of like a younger generation thing with Instagram, and those are the people that are mainly watching the show now, so I guess it makes sense. But it's also crazy because it's a show about getting married, so when you see all these young people, you're like, are they really ready for that?
Yeah, you never know.
Who knows?
Well, thank you so much for joining us. You guys are going to love the book, and holiday season is approaching. I would very much suggest getting it as a gift to your friends, loved ones that are big Bachelor Nation fans. So, of course, now accepting roses, which you are, and I hope that, you find someone awesome soon.
Okay.
All right, we'll see you guys next time. Bye.
Bye.